Peace be upon you. Greetings to everyone. I'm very happy and excited to be with you today in this session, which, God willing, will become a regular session under the name Keep Head At. And in the very latest and most significant updates of generative artificial intelligence, this comprehensive session meticulously covers what's truly new that has recently started to emerge. Let's say the innovative new features. And most importantly, the established best practices for its effective utilization, as well as what might genuinely spark, let's say, entirely new and creative ideas. A quick introduction for those who don't know me. My name is Fadi Amrash. My background is in computer science, or what used to be called informatics engineering in Syria. I completed my master's in informatics engineering. Then I moved more into the field of economics and decision making. I went on to complete a master's and a PhD in behavioral economics and decision making systems, also specializing in artificial intelligence, which back in those days, between 2009 and 2012, was focused on certain topics. Let's say tree-based methods before deep learning came along. Now, with the rise of generative AI, I work in the field of digital transformation and generative artificial intelligence with several organizations, most notably right now with the United Nations in the area of blockchain. Previously, I worked with Google in the field of digital marketing. We have trained more than 50,000 students in digital marketing, and with Meta, we've worked on digital marketing to increase completion rates. Currently, my specific area of expertise is in how to design informational behavioral interventions that leverage artificial intelligence to increase organizational efficiency and drive digital transformation. Of course, I don't need to tell you that the picture of me on the left was created using AI. Since we're being formal, that's what we went with. Let's say we gave it a set of images from these bots to work with. You could say it turned out pretty nice. Today, we're going to discuss several ideas. Most importantly, what are the general best practices in generative AI and prompt engineering? And we'll agree on some terminology and go over it together. What is the current state of language models? What's the difference between them? I'm sure most of you are wondering. I have ChatGPT, I have Claude, I have Gemini, I have Grok. So, when should I choose this one? When should I choose that one? Should I pay $20 for each one? Well, regardless, I've tried all of them. Now, there's something called an AI agent. What is this agent? Should I use Manus or Bark? Okay, there's an agent that does programming. Things have gotten complicated. We need to know the use cases for each one of them. When might we actually need them? Because it can also get really expensive. Subscribing for $30 or $20 to each model every month adds up. And most importantly, let's look at practical examples, whether these examples are about generating video, audio generation, voice cloning, the difference between the models, what makes each model unique. This is the most important thing in case studies. Like, honestly, it stands out in this particular aspect. Okay, if you don't need this feature, then there's no need for you to subscribe to it. If you do need it, you might be missing out on another feature. Let's say, what distinguishes each model through real, practical case studies? All right, there's no need for me to go into historical introductions or say, like, statistics that AI is going to change the whole game. 92% of companies find that it will redefine innovation within organizations. So, we're not just talking on a personal level, like increasing individual productivity. The entire organization, in one way or another, is being disrupted. Now, we're dealing with a technology that, honestly, is disruptive. Jobs are going to be affected in a very big way. Every day, we hear about, let's say, massive layoffs. Today, McKinsey laid off 10% and Microsoft too, maybe 15,000 employees. Personally, in one way or another, I feel distant from it. I mean, even organizing my teams has changed because now there are tools, as you'll see today, that can really change the game in a big way. All right, we've talked a lot about artificial intelligence before, and I think most of you are familiar with it. The most important thing I want to emphasize is that it mimics human intelligence in the sense that it's trained on data. After being trained on data, it predicts the answer. That's how it works. So today, all I need to say is that any task you can think of is possible. When we talk about an AI agent or a model, at the very least, we try to compare it to humans. How do we make that comparison to humans? So, if something is difficult or nearly impossible for humans, then it's definitely going to be difficult or impossible for artificial intelligence as well. When does it become not impossible or not difficult? You can also use the chat to answer, or if you're listening to the recording, just answer out loud. When does it become not impossible? It's when the task is structured, meaning it's divisible. So, when it's divisible, I can handle the first part, the second, the third, the millionth, and so on. But I can't imagine a task, let's say, that would require Superman or Superwoman. And this is a very important point because a lot of people might think of a task, but in the end, it's not achievable because it's, let's say, not logical. So we always need to pay attention to this and keep it in mind. The most important thing for us is that when we talk about generative artificial intelligence, it's focused on generating content. And this content, generally speaking, is either written, audio, or visual, all forms of what can be generated. And this is a very important point. I want you to focus on this, since it is trained on previous data, no matter how much it tries to be creative. It will always be limited by what it was trained on. So the question you should always think about when you want to do any task is, does this task, in its essence, already exist in human history? Because if it doesn't already exist in human history, it won't be able to imagine it. The result will definitely come out incorrect. So we always have to do not exactly imitation, but more like simulating something that has been done before, but with a new achievement. This point is very important, especially when we're talking about generating videos, for example. When I first got access to try out Google's new video model, I had this idea in mind of two people on the stairs. One person is going up, the other is coming down, and they meet each other. The one coming down basically tells the one going up, there's no need to go up. It's not worth it. I tried. I think I went through about 8 attempts trying to explain this idea to the video generator, but I couldn't get it to work. Then I realized maybe it's because there isn't a cinematic shot like this that it's been trained on before. So it doesn't understand what I mean by one person going up, another going down, and them meeting each other. All the attempts ended up showing me one person going down the stairs and the other following him. Why is that? You can probably imagine it yourselves, because this is the shot that's very common in, let's say, cinema. Someone going down the stairs and the other following him, maybe to call out to him or give him something. So, whenever we want to do any task, we should always remember that AI has been trained on something beforehand. And so I wanted to, let's say, give me the answer, but it will always be limited one way or another by what it was trained on. So if what it's limited by in one way or another is something common and I agree with it, then that's fine. But if I don't entirely agree with it, I truly need to know precisely how to effectively change things or fully realize that this might be quite difficult or even completely impossible to achieve. So this whole thing is really about writing prompts and prompt engineering. I'll also share with you any resources I have that are available elsewhere, so you can benefit from them. There's a very important prompt engineering guide. The most important idea in it is that whenever I write a prompt, I tell the bot to take on a specific persona and I give it a response template. And this is a very important point. You should never use ChatGPT to execute a command directly. Instead, you have to tell it to take on a persona. You need to give it a character to embody, explain the task in detail, and provide the format of the output, what the output should look like. This is a very important point, and honestly, it's what sets you apart from amateurs and professionals. For example, when I want to write, let's say, a news piece and publish it on my page, I don't just give it in English and tell it to translate it into Arabic. Instead, I give it the text in English. Then I tell it to write it in Arabic in a way that starts with the introduction I want. It's like meeting the dough in the direction I want it to go. So I might tell it to start with the phrase circulating news about, or the company announced, or allegations. I mean, I give it that word that makes it sound like, this isn't about talking, because in the end, the first word is what sets the news apart. Let's say, for another news piece, it's the opening line. The first word is the headline. So I restrict the beginning, I force it to start, so I give it a template for the answer. That's why it's really important that I always provide a template for the answer. When I give a template for the answer, I actually control it. Let's say I'm not giving the bot complete freedom. Instead, I'm restricting it in the way I want.